Hello and welcome to another brand new episode of What the FinTech, the podcast from the team behind FinTech Futures and the Banking Technology magazine. My name is Cameron Emanuel-Burns, a reporter at FinTech Futures, and for this episode I'm delighted to say we're joined by Tandem Bank's Chief Technology Officer, Suavek Zajac. And today we're going to be discussing the benefits and the challenges associated with focusing on sustainability and balancing customer expectations. Anyway, first off, how are you, Suavek, and welcome to the show.
Doing very well, thanks Cameron, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, for those who may have not heard about Tandem Bank, could you give us a brief overview of the company, please?
Yeah, sure. So Tandem launched in 2014 as one of UK's first digital-only challengers, and we're now 500 strong in 2025 across Blackpool, Cardiff, Durham, and London. And we are all driving one belief that banking really shouldn't cost the earth. So we offer a green savings and lending products across our portfolio.
Awesome. Well, you've been in the role for just over a year now. What made you pick Tandem as your next company?
I think it was a conflation of really three factors. The first thing is the mission. The mission was particularly exciting for me to really be behind sustainability and really drive meaningful value through that. The second were the people with banking and fintech expertise. And the other thing was really actually the timing as well. So as a society, we're looking at sustainability. So I think this presents interesting opportunities as well for banking.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to be going through this episode talking a bit of the stuff that you've been building while you've been there over the past year. But to kick off, what achievement are you most proud of from your first year?
That is a good question. I think the first thing I looked at when I joined was the engineering culture. And I think I'm proud to say that we've achieved significant gains on that front. And really where I was emphasizing was that self-sufficiency of teams, that agency of teams to drive really meaningful value for the business. So I think that was a really important achievement. The second one was we've invested into our data platform. Our data platform as a fintech that's undergone multiple M&As was a conflation of multiple platforms, and we actually consolidated on a single platform. And I think it's really well engineered at this point and really giving us significant gains as well.
Super. No, fascinating stuff. And really, I guess when speaking to someone of yourself and your stature within Tandem, it'd be really interesting to find out, so how are you leveraging technology at the moment to help your customers achieve a greener lifestyle?
The first thing is, I think we're looking at data in an interesting way, and the data points that we can get out of our banking solutions, but also our vendors, and use the data to drive real insight for our customers as to how they can live a greener lifestyle, how they can make better informed decisions on how to improve their house or what to invest in, and also what vehicle they could potentially afford as well. So that data is really then driving a lot of insight behind our solutions.
Do you carbon offset your data, like where you can track how much carbon you're using?
Yeah, so we are, as an organization, our lending products, we've offset 82,000 tons of CO2 in 2024. And we're continuously looking at that offset, and we have a number of programs, which I'm happy to talk about as well.
Well, please, unless you were planning on bringing them up later, please do go into them. We'd be fascinated to know more.
So it's about greener lending, but it's also about our technology and how we drive sustainability through really sound engineering. So if you think about it, sometimes you think that sustainability and driving business value are in contradiction, but they don't have to be, because, for example, on our end, we've invested quite heavily into migrating our workflows on AWS to AWS Graviton processors, which are 60% more energy efficient. And so they reduce our carbon footprint. So these are the small steps you can take, consolidating systems, reducing workflows. And as a result of that, we've reduced our carbon footprint, but we also significantly reduced our costs and operating costs, which everyone likes, right? So that's quite significant.
Absolutely. No, really good stuff. Well, but moving on from there, I see this. I was just away recently at a conference in the States, and there was a lot of talk around this subject in particular of how companies are trying to balance the need for rapid innovation with sustainable technology practices. And of course, that must be such a huge area that Tandem are looking at. So if you could guide us a bit more into that. So how do you balance that rate of innovation, but trying to keep it, of course, sustainable at all times?
As I mentioned, they really go hand in hand at Tandem. So we want to move forward quickly, but we want to do so efficiently and sustainably. So if we find ourselves in a position where it's not sustainable, we're going to rethink it and we're going to slow down the speed. That's really the approach we're taking, because at the end, we want to make sure that our solutions or whatever we put to market don't really cost the earth, and that they're really quite efficient as products and adding value to our customers as well as to the business.
No, absolutely. So because these customers, as I think we all know going into this year, the expectations are ever increasing, how do you balance that need for hyper-personalization and instant services with your environmental commitments?
Good question. I think a lot of what we do, there are different expectations around hyper-personalization in banking and finance versus hyper-personalization in entertainment. So for example, the Netflix of the world, they sell an escape from reality. You want to get away from it. You want to be surprised. These are not the things you want to experience in banking. You want to have a deterministic outcome. You don't want to be surprised, and you want to get the right product at the right time. So we try to really keep things simple. Our products need to be simple. They need to go through many UX case studies, and we're very careful about what we release. But a lot of the intelligence is in the background, so that, for example, when we present a loan opportunity for an electric vehicle for a customer, maybe we also want to tell them while they're looking at the car, we also want to tell them that perhaps you would be with very high chance pre-approved for this loan. So there's a lot of compute that goes and intelligence that goes on behind that, but really it's very simple for the customer as a result.
Okay, super. So I was wondering, what specifically in technology do you emphasize to create more value for the business?
That's a great question, Cameron. I think one of the key things I look at is how effectively, as an organization, can you leverage your data? Can the teams, the business, tell their own story with data and KPIs? And I work backwards from that. If they can't, what are the underlying bottlenecks? What are the problems? So at Tandem, we had a lot of ETL processes, a lot of batch jobs, which had a tendency to fail. And we looked at our data platform, and we actually re-engineered the platform, used change data capture from the source databases, streamed the data through our messaging platform into our data lake. And in that process, we're actually doing schema validation. So a lot of the failures that happen have to do with the data and the data at source, but then we were pushing that data into the data lake, and sort of that generated a lot of work for our analysts to work backwards from that. And now we're capturing, through dead letter queues, some of those invalid inputs and notifying our data owners in real time to modify the data. And I think that's made a big impact on our teams, because we've really democratized access to the data and made the data pipeline much more efficient.
Oh, that's fascinating stuff. Thank you. And I guess another one would be, are there any recent innovations around LLMs and AI to help your teams?
Yeah, I think the industry in general is moving so quickly that what wasn't true maybe 6 months ago, you have to reevaluate almost on a weekly basis. And what we've observed in the past few weeks is that the tooling is getting so good now that we really have an opportunity to look at an AI first approach to our Tandem application. So potentially, we're now exploring the use of LLMs to derive our application code base, leveraging Figma as input, Figma designs as input. And through our testing, we've shown that the output that the tooling produces right now is getting to the point where it makes a lot of sense for us to look at whether we want to completely redesign the app build pipeline. So we're strongly considering that at the moment. And I think it's looking very likely that we're going to do that.
No, absolutely. And so I know we kind of touched on it a moment ago with your migration to Microsoft, but what strategies have you been employing in your time with Tandem to minimize the environmental impact of the bank's digital operations?
So not only in our cloud efficiencies and our migration to more efficient processors, but it's really part of our DNA. And so if you look at our buildings, our HQ building in Blackpool runs on solar. We have an electric vehicle salary sacrifice scheme for our employees. We're fully remote, which obviously reduces travel costs and the carbon footprint as a result of that. So that in combination with volunteering work and planting trees really all adds up to the numbers that I have mentioned before.
Mm-hmm. How have you found that then? So you were saying that all these initiatives that Tandem have been brought in, like you're saying you're fully remote and the HQ is powered on solar compared to your other companies that you have worked for in the past?
Well, I think it's different because from the very inception about, for example, how we deal with vendors, how we deal with partners, we look at them through that sustainability lens as well. If there is a more sustainable option, we're going to choose that. So I think as a result of that, though, because it's part of our DNA, it comes naturally to us. So it's no different to just designing the best solution for the business. So I think it comes naturally to Tandem employees to think about sustainability.
Super. Well, when doing my research for this episode, I saw that you recently introduced your Green Hub and Connect platform. And I was hoping that you could give us some more information about what the process was around developing them and what the platforms offer your customers.
Yeah. So first, let me cover Green Hub, which is quite a bit of development over the past year. And really, I think the Green Hub is an opportunity for Tandem Bank to build a community around sustainable living and a sustainable banking. And so the Green Hub, we offer not just to our bank customers, but to all customers. And it offers our customers tools around their energy efficiency of their house. They can check the value of their vehicle. They can look at whether they're pre-approved for electric vehicle loans. They can look at potentially getting a home improvement loan as well. So there's a lot of tools available at their disposal. But then potentially, if they want to onboard to our banking ecosystem, then they can go apply to the bank and start saving in a greener way. So I think it's really interesting because we talk about embedded finance and how the banks are really opening up an API and others are building an ecosystem around them. Here, we're looking at a bank actually trying to build an ecosystem. And I think with the Connect V2 platform, it's really our home build platform for second charge mortgages. And what we've done there is we've been incrementally building out that platform through user feedback. We've been talking to brokers. We've been asking them, okay, what works for you? What doesn't work for you? And we've been rapidly adjusting the product to really meet the requirements. And I'm happy to say it is receiving really great reviews with the brokers. And we're in the process of actually launching it to more and more brokers and scaling that out.
Super. Well, are you able to give us any more information around the technology that was used and the processes? And was this when you were head, or does this, especially the Green Hub, does this predate you?
The Green Hub was started just around the time when I started. The process really, I think there's a lot of kind of analysis done with the vendors and UX studies with the vendors around what will work for customers, what will not work for customers. We look at, from a technology standpoint, how we're going to integrate with their APIs, how we're going to surface the details, like the EPC scores through the Green Hub. And we are following agile practices and iterating through that. And so I think the key thing about the Green Hub is with the first release, we've really opened up a capability. And now we're going to be looking at more partners to integrate with and more solutions to integrate with. So we've been looking at, there's some interesting, for example, developments around a subscription management. So for example, if you want to change your subscription, now there's APIs available where you can automatically, with a click of a button, change your subscription. So we're looking at now at opportunities that exist. And for us, going forward is just going to be integrating yet another tool into our ecosystem.
Super, thank you for that. And well, a topic that I'm personally really interested in is when we're heading into 2025 and beyond, what are the emerging technologies that you see as game changers for sustainable banking?
Well, there's a number of them, obviously, and it's all the buzzword. All the buzz right now is around AI. But I do wholeheartedly think that agentic AI is going to be huge for sustainable banking because it can really do that hard analysis and give you the insights that can then drive behavior, green behavior, more sustainable behavior. So rather than you looking at it or perhaps reading a lot about what's going on, I think the agents now can look at your lifestyle via open banking, look at your carbon footprint, how you spend your money, and they can suggest better alternatives or different recommendations. I think that's going to be huge for sustainability. And I think regulation plays a big part as well. And I think the APIs are opening up and payment systems are opening up. So as those things improve, and I think that in combination with AI is going to be really powerful for banking.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. Agentic AI is certainly the buzzword going around for 2025.
I think a lot of companies are on the vanguard of agentic AI, and banking always lags behind because of regulation, but that's the right thing because we have to think about customer safety. We have to let others maybe test those systems, look at how different vendors catch up to, let's say, monitor agents, to look at the spend, to look at the output of the LLMs to ensure that nothing seeps through the security hole. So banking is definitely looking at it right now. And the reason I think we haven't seen a lot of these solutions come to market yet is because we're going to move a little bit slower, but when we do, I think the impact is going to be a massive impact.
Yes, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more there. But finally, I was just wondering, are there any other developments on the horizon for Tandem that you can share with us today?
One of the things we're looking at is expanding our Green Hub marketplace and really kind of consolidating all of the solutions that we offer around our lending products and bringing that into the ecosystem. So you can really have a one-stop shop. Like imagine looking at what can I do around my house to be more energy efficient and be able to, with a click of a button, have your solar panels installed and get a loan pre-approved and installed them the same week, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
Thanks again, Suavek, for chatting with us today. To finish the episode, we have our infamous Fintech Jail, where we ask for an industry term, buzzword, or trend that you have seen or simply just heard enough of and want to get rid. Or, of course, you can advocate to free one of the previously incarcerated terms. So what will your selection be this week?
I'd like to free from the Fintech Jail embedded finance. I think it was put in jail for the right reasons. And I think with every innovation, just around 2021, it was put in jail because we simply weren't ready. We saw the opportunities, we saw the possibilities, but the intangibles or the unhappy paths weren't really taken care of. We looked at the MVP and we said, oh, this would be great to do. But then you had to take care of the KYC, transaction monitoring, all the unhappy paths, and that didn't really work. And the regulation wasn't really there. However, now in 2025, they have more or less converged. So I think if you're looking at embedded finance right now, I think a great time to be doing embedded finance solutions and really be integrating as a non-financial institution with financial products.
Well, absolutely. We will free embedded finance from the Fintech Jail. And yeah, that brings us to the end of the episode. I just wanted to say a huge thank you very much to Suavek for giving us your insights today. It's been fascinating finding out about your work at Tandem. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it.
Well, thanks, Cameron. I really enjoyed our talk.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thank you so much to Suavek for joining me. As for FinTech Futures, you can find us online at fintechfutures.com and be sure to follow us on LinkedIn to keep up to date with the latest fintech news. If you like this podcast, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, or your favourite podcast service to get notified about all our future episodes. Thanks as well to Arama for editing this podcast. You can check them out at arama.tv. And as always, thank you everyone for your support, and we'll see you soon for another episode of What the FinTech. But until then, goodbye.